All right, my name is Connell Hare, and I'm here at the Nostalgia Newsstand, Greenville, North Carolina, one of the smallest and best comic book stores around, and we about to start this interview. What's going on, David?
Hey, how you doing there, Connell?
You doing all right, man?
Doing good, brother. How you been?
Pretty good, pretty good. All right, I got a couple of questions for you.
All
It's
right.
going to be really, really easy. First, let me ask you a question. How long has this store been here?
We have been in business for a little over 40 years. We celebrated our 40th anniversary in 2018. I forget the exact month, but I remember when Charles Lawrence, the owner, when he first opened Nostalgia, it was 1978, and it was about the time that the first Christopher Reeve Superman movie was coming to town. For whatever month that was, I remember that I was in high school at the time. I'm 57 now, but I was a high school kid at the time, only 16. And I remember telling Charles, I'll bet that Superman movie is really going to help you out with the new comic book store. And it was the first comic book store in Greenville, and one of the first in eastern North Carolina. Back in those, because if you remember the years before that, man, coming up in the 60s and 70s, if you bought your comics around these parts, you had to get them at a drugstore off the old spinner racks and that kind of thing, you know.
That's pretty cool. I noticed a lot of, you guys have survived a lot in 40 years. A lot of bigger, more progressive comic book stores have come and gone. Why do you think you guys have survived? Besides, I mean, I'm guessing because you're small, you have like, what, four people that work here?
Yes.
Maybe that's it, but what's your opinion?
Yeah, it was Charles, the owner, and me, David Witherington, and we also have David Tilley and Gary Lee here. So really, three of us kind of running it for Charles these days, and he's the owner. But I think that may be part of it. We're small time. It's not like a chain or anything, and which, you know, oddly, throughout the whole history of comic book stores, most of them, 99.9% of them are independently owned, I think. There's no big chains or whatever so much. I mean, you do have some guys who are well off enough that they've opened 2 or 3 stores, like around the Raleigh area and things over time. But we've always had this one here in Greenville, and it has served East Carolina University and the comic book community of Greenville and surrounding towns. I think Greenville being sort of a hub, too, we bring in comic fans from like Washington and Farmville and Tarboro and surrounding towns as well.
Okay, all right. So you understand the situation with the comic industry, how bad comics are doing. What's your honest opinion on this? What do you think should be done? What would you do to raise profits in comic books?
Well, it is true that I've read that there's a lot of comic stores have dropped in the past few years. A lot of them not even making it to Christmas. Last year, I understand, reading that I think there was at least 100 across America didn't even make it till Christmas last year. I think you have to be smart in your buying, and not that we always have it. You try things, and if they don't do well, like we don't have a lot of manga for one thing. We tried it, and we just couldn't compete with the bigger stores like Barnes and Noble and something like that. So we do concentrate on the big sellers for almost any comic book stores are DC and Marvel, of course, especially in this age where superheroes dominated more so than any time in history, I think, now. As witnessed by every other movie at the theater and every other TV show on Netflix and the networks now is based on comic books, pretty much. You know, it's become a real source for other media, and that's one thing that you used to get the superhero stories. You almost had to buy the comics. I mean, there was a time where a Superman movie or a Batman movie every 10 years or so was what you got. But once they kind of saw the movie, the money to be made with that, now there's no shortage of it. I mean, if anything, there's a glut of it almost. You can go home and turn on the tube and watch a new superhero show almost every night of the week, thanks to the CW and Netflix and DC having a streaming service now, Marvel planning one and all that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's everywhere now, and I think because of that, the market does get sort of divided up a bit. So, I mean, your true readers are going to come back and stay with the books. But for every one reader on a comic book, there's probably another 20 that just watch the TV and the movies and don't read the comics. So, but that said now, those things do drive people into the stores as well. Like that new animated Spider-Man movie has brought a lot of people through the door. They said they saw that thing and they're curious about nods and winks in that movie to certain stories in the past, and they want to know if we have some of those Spider-Man stories from back in the 70s and 80s and all that they referred to in that movie. So it's a good thing that way, and you just have to balance it out, hope for the best. Like I say, the market is so divided these days that you just do the best you can. It helps to be in a college town, I think, too.
Okay, in your opinion, men versus women coming in here, off the top of your head, what percentage of men versus women would you say come into a comic book store? This one.
Well, this is a guess, and I would still say it's probably 80-20. I'd say still 80 men to women. But that 20, though, is a big improvement that we've seen over the 40 years of this store's existence. I mean, in the beginning, my God, it was almost all guys, as you can imagine. But comic books have expanded to be more inviting to women readers as well, too, though. I think there's more female superheroes now. And not just superheroes, there's just a wider variety, like the Image books and the Dark Horse, all the independent books that are non-superheroes. There's a lot of material, just basic sci-fi and adventure stories, stories for younger readers and older, I think, that appeal to, to both sexes, I think.
Most definitely. And speaking of that, of course, we got to talk about diversity in comic books. What's your honest opinion on the diversity and the new X-Men? And be brutally honest.
Well, I'm an old man, of course, so I have sort of old school opinions on that. I don't mind diversity at all, but I would prefer that it be in new characters instead of taking old characters and revamping them for a new
demographic?
Yeah, for a new demographic in this new age or whatever. Well, for instance, when they took the Golden Age Spider-Man and they had turned him into a gay character or whatever, and as they would say, there's nothing wrong with that, but I would rather than create a new one, because my grandfather's probably rolling in his grave because he was a Green Lantern fan back in the day, but he had passed on before that had even happened. But, things that's something that goes on a lot, but I guess it just depends on your age and adapting to it or whatever.
Okay, that's pretty good. I'd like to talk about your buyers. I was specifically told to ask, how does Diamond treat you compared to your other buyers?
Well, Diamond pretty much is almost a monopoly on comic book supplies now. I think they are. I mean, I'm sure there are other places you can get things set up, but the direct market pretty much ships straight to comic book stores. That's been a thing since, I believe, sometime in the 80s, where, like, way back in the day, we used to use Rocky Mountain News Agency, but that was back when the transition was going from stores being able to buy comics at fast fairs and convenience stores and things, which is, those days are gone now. It's pretty much strictly comic book stores, Now, it's not bad. Has its ups and downs, but Diamond, I really have no problem with them. They're pretty good. Usually there are missteps and mistakes in ordering on both sides, of course. Sometimes we'll hit the wrong button and overorder a book, but they're usually very good about crediting us and things like that, and and making suggestions too of things. And every now and then there'll be a hot new book, and they'll say, well, if you want to buy 100 copies of this, then if it doesn't sell well for you, we'll let you return 75% of them or something, because they're recommending it. So they're good. They're pretty good to work with.
Excellent, excellent. All right, I'm going to just let them look around the store, okay? Nostalgia newsstand. There it is. There's the card right there. Just get a quick glance at the store. Recently, we've had a bit of upheaval. You want to tell them about the little problems we've been having?
Yeah, part of it stems from the construction that's going on around the store. The city has been, just a lot of... They tore down our original building because of an overpass that they're building, and they've been rerouting some of the water systems over to this side of town where we are now. And we had one of the worst things is the city was pumping water into our drain in front of the store, and they had filled it up. It just pouring into it heavy one night, and this was maybe 6 months ago now. and it poured down rain one night, and because the drain was filled with the water they were pumping in it, the rain had nowhere to go, so it came right through our front door.
You lost a lot of comics, didn't you?
We did. We lost
a lot of damage.
We lost about a third of our back stock, around 109 long boxes, probably the equivalent of close to 30,000 comic books. And but we're looking into getting some, some recompense on that. Hopefully, we're looking into that. So.
Okay, that's cool. We're about to at the 10-minute mark, so I'm gonna sign out. Any last words to say?
No, but Canelo, I really what I want to do is thank you for coming in and putting the spotlight on us here and giving us a little promotion here, and just letting us talk about the business. And I welcome anyone who wants to read comic books, and that includes superheroes. We have kitty books, Scooby-Doo and things like that, which are not always just kitty, but I guess all ages, I should say.
I know, that stuff is right around here, right?
But a whole rack of things like My Little Pony and Hanna-Barbera and Transformers and things like that. And a wide variety, and we carry some action figures and things like that. So if
oh yeah, there's the Batman. There's the Batman who laughs.
The Batman who laughs statues. Yeah, we have statues, action figures. We're able to special order any of that kind of stuff out of the previews catalog from Diamond. We have brand new comics every Wednesday, and we welcome you to come in. And you can come in, ask us for recommendations, or tell us what you're looking for. And if we don't have it, we'll certainly try to order it for you.
All right, thank you very much. This is Canel Hare signing out.